All right, guys, so we just finished off the Hunter and the Beast Invitational, which was definitely quite a bit of fun. So I want to thank you guys for joining for that event. And now we're going to be jumping right into the Total War Warhammer 2 patch notes for the Empire Undivided update. So let's go ahead and take a look. This is a massive update for multiplayer, for campaign, and I mean, especially for multiplayer, there's some really awesome changes. So let's go ahead and take a look at the table of contents. So as far as what we're going to be looking at today, there's a lot of stuff like bug fixes, campaign fixes. We're going to be focusing explicitly or mostly on multiplayer stuff. So obviously the first one is going to be multiplayer unit caps. So if we go here, and you guys have seen this in videos and probably heard other YouTubers talking about it, so we don't need to go too in depth, but there are caps in multiplayer now. So for newer players who are looking to get into ladder and, play multiplayer for the first time, you're not going to go into ladder and play against someone who has a horde of Mortis engines and just ridiculous massive amounts of flying units. It's going to be much more user-friendly for newer players, which I think is outstanding because that was a bit of a tricky thing, right? Going into multiplayer, there were a lot of really nasty builds you could bring on ladder. And that's the reason why the community, came up with its own rules for tournaments, is because the restrictions for multiplayer weren't really that great before. There were some, but now there's, you can only have 5 flying units. You can only have so many, single entities. It's a really, really good cap. And I think it's going to make for a much better multiplayer experience. So quite happy about that. So let's also go back up here and look at the character and unit balancing. So this is going to be the juiciness. And there's battle bug fixes, improvements, things like that. But really for us, the main thing is character and unit balancing. Huge stuff, just massive. So the Beastmen, if you take a look, one of the big narratives of this change or this patch is essentially just lowering the cost of foot lords. So most lords are going to be much cheaper on foot. Not really going to change what it, or nerf per se, what it is on their mount. So Kazarak on his chariot, for example, but rather we're just going to be lowering the cost of the foot lords to make them more viable. So Beast Lord, Kazarak, and even Morker got a cost decrease. I don't know if Morker needed that because he's already like a powerhouse lord. If anything, maybe like a 50 gold increase. But yeah, I mean, the thing about Morker is the Beastmen just don't really have good lord choices. The Beast Lord and Kazarak are both pretty terrible, and Morker is just so much better. So that's kind of the unfortunate thing. Like Kazarak is just so janky. I mean, I know there's some kind of there's a hipster Kazarak hipster culture that likes him, but really, just to be honest, he's not very good. But yeah, I like the narrative of kind of lowering the footlords. Gorbel got walk speed, run speed, leadership. Minotaurs, walk speed, run speed, can now hide in forests. So the great Minotaur ambush, that's actually pretty cool in multiplayer because like beforehand, and it might actually take people some time, like you wouldn't expect Minotaurs to be hiding in the trees. You can usually see them, but in this case, they can now hide in the forest, which is going to be pretty ridiculous. So Minotaurs got -4 melee attack, but it got a bonus, +18 bonus for infantry. Wow, and 100 cost. So interesting stuff. Minotaurs with great weapons got a change as well. Butchers of Kalkengard got some changes, melee attack, and so a little bit more offensive. But yeah, they can all hide in forests, and they're all a little bit faster now. So I mean, 6 run speed is pertinent. Chaos Spawn, so we did see this in the tournament we had today. There was some Chaos Spawn being brought. So both for Beastmen and Chaos, they've had a reduction. And so have Giants, which is interesting because Giants in matchups when you're not facing off against Powder can actually be okay. So if you're facing off against a Chaos player or another Beastman player or something like that, Giants do have an okay presence. So I like that quite a bit. Very cool. Ungor Spearman added Vanguard deployment in stock. Oh, yeah, very cool. +1 health, 50 cost. Destroyers of Drakwald have had the same changes. I have more Sleep, Sons of Goros, and the Blackhorn Ravagers have all had minor changes, melee attack, and all that kind of good stuff, so you guys can see that. Now into the Glorious Bretonnian. So the Footlords obviously have had a reduction, and even the Barded Warhorse has had a reduction as well, because it seems like they're trying to, of course, get you away from the big flying single entity monsters like the Hippogriffs. They'll still probably be the better choices, but if you do want to mix up your build now, it's going to be a little bit better, which is cool. Paladin has had a cost increase. The Paladin on the Barded Warhorse, Prophetess on a Warhorse has had a cost increase. What? That's weird. Prophetesses are so unused. I don't know why there would be any changes there, but I guess it's just trying to bring everything in line. So the Green Knight, Sacred Guardian is now free. Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. So the Green Knight has the Dolores Blade plus the Sacred Guardian. So you're just going to get those for free now, which is nice. So cool little buff there. Grail Guardian, Pegasus Knights getting leadership and tweaked animations for charging. That's really big actually, because Pegasus Knights, the biggest issue with them is their charging. They kind of like are awkward. They don't make the best impact. So if they tweak the animations to make them a more direct, kind of impactful charge, we could see Pegasus Knights become more pertinent in the metagame. And there was some players, who were using them in tournaments to good effect actually for like breaking low leadership monsters and stuff. So I'm really excited to kind of see that change. Defenders of Fleur de Lis have had some minor tweaks. Pretty much all these different cab units have. My apologies for the interruption there. From Facebook notifications, curse the Bagginses. And yeah, Knights of Lionhearted, Wardens of Montfort, everyone just all doing their thing. Beastlers of Bastion, Blessed Field Trebuchet. So the projectile explosion ignores allies here, but the thing about that is the initial impact doesn't ignore allies, but the explosion, the radius that goes outward does. So it can still hurt your own troops. It's not like a silver bullet. So Dark Elves, Crone Hellebron has had a cost decrease, Lokir. So again, Footlords getting decreases, even Malekith and the more competitive lords. And Sulafet now uses large entity ground stat effect group. Okay, so it looks like it was like a small entity before, which is interesting. And just minor, tweaks across the board. Supreme Sorceress, plus there, because that's like the common pick. People just bring that with like a freaking on some sort of a cheap mount and Spirit Leech. So I like that they're changing that because, you know, it's cool to see more diversity with like Crone, Hellebron, and Loke here. Dreadlords have had a cost reduction across the board for pretty much all variants here. So you can see the Sword and Crossbow, the Foots, and Cold One variants have had that reduction. So basically just anything that's not a big single entity like Dragon is getting a reduction here. Raven's Heralds can no longer hide in the forest. They could hide in the forest before. Yeah, they got a little buff. They're still probably going to suck, but that's cool. The big issue with them is actually their ammunition. It's not really the fact that, you know, they're squishy. Like, they just run out of ammo. So even in niche matchups, they still just aren't that effective. Knights of the Ebon Claw, minor tweaks here. Ultimately a nerf, I would say. 5 melee defense is quite a bit. Slaanesha's Harvesters, same thing across the board. Just making the Dark Elves a little bit more punchy and squishier, which is fine because I think Sisters and, you know, all those kind of units do kind of last a little bit long in melee for like how squishy they should be based on their armor. Blades of the Blood Queen, man, they really went in with the Dark Elves, making them a much more aggressive faction in terms of their stats, like buffing melee attack and lowering melee defense almost across the board on a lot of powerful units. So Reaper Bolt Thrower Shot plus multi-shot plus bonus for infantry. Okay, per projectile. That's pretty good. Now onto the Proud Dawi. So Ethereal Dwarf Heroes, plus 5 hit reaction, ignore chance, plus 15 knock interrupt. Okay, that's pretty cool. So it's going to be harder to knock them over. Lord, yeah, so that's kind of the thing. You can see pretty much all the Dwarf Lords have had some different costs, but it seems like a lot of them have had some sort of an interaction where it's going to be harder to knock them over. Mass increase, which yeah, I'm excited to see this. And man, getting Gotrek in this is going to be so good and tasty. Oh man, that's awesome. So the Runesmiths and the Thanes, yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, minor tweaks to the stats, but for the most part, cost reductions on some of the heroes and harder to knock over. And let's get to the really good stuff. Yeah, Belagar gets plus 600 mass. Jesus. Same with Grombrindle. Those guys are going to be thick. They're going to be hard to take down, which is good because like I want to use these characters, you know, but they just get knocked over and the characters just kite you away. And now this is really big, actually. Thorgrim getting an AP melee buff and also a cost reduction. Thorgrim is actually a powerhouse of a character. He's very tough to kill. He has some really good AoE buffs, and I think Thorgrim could be solid. So the Flame Cannon got some pretty big buffs as it pertains to its damage output, but it did get a cost increase. Still probably won't see it too much because of its range, but still, I think that's cool. Dragonback Slayers, melee defense, yeah, so they're just becoming more Slayer-ish, getting squishier but more aggressive. Falcon's Rangers, regular Rangers have had a slight cost increase in tandem with a couple buffs, it looks like. And yeah, just like bonus first large on Jack. Whoa. Oh, that's big. You know, I was like skipping over some of these because it just looked minor, but this is a big buff. So Gyrocopters with Brimstone Guns are getting a bonus first large of 15 on their projectiles. That is something that could change the metagame. Like, because dwarves really struggle with chariots, but if you have like a bonus first large gun that actually hits pretty hard against chariots, in conjunction with the new slows they have, I feel like dwarves are going to have some better answers, plus high mass. So this is really going to be changing the dynamic of dwarves. That is big. Gyrocopter Brimstone Gun change. I love it. So for the Glorious Empire, oh my god. Oh, look at this. Karl Franz, cost decreases for the Lords on Foot. Toddy. Is this like it's supposed to be a curse word or is it just a bug? Toddy on a... I don't know. That's pretty funny though. Yeah, cost decreases just changes for the most part. So it's just the same thing. Like all the leadership is getting decreases based on, their mount choice. Pegasus can no longer hide in the forest. I didn't even know that was a thing before, so that's pretty funny. Sunmaker gets plus 1 melee attack. Oh, dude, game over, bro. Sunmaker. The Sunmaker crew has 1 melee attack. Oh, man. Crossbow got a bit of an increase, but crossbows are very quickly going to become irrelevant because of the Huntsman. Huntsman are just so much better, I think. I mean, having anti-large dual purpose. I mean, yeah, Crossbowmen probably a better AP. You can see with the buff here, but even still, Huntsmen are just so good. So lowering melee defense on a lot of stuff across the board, actually. Looking for very pertinent changes here. Hellblaster Volley Gun, 20% base and AP projectile damage is pretty good. I wonder if that applies to the Black Alliance ROR. Sunmaker gets a little bit of an explosion there, which is cool. Demogryph Knights, oh wow, I like that. Demogryph Knights getting a cost decrease. So Empire's going to be really strong. I mean, I think these changes are really good. Outriders fixed issue where reloading transitions were capping rate of fire. So it seems like these units were bugged and they were still doing pretty good. So Grimgor, the Haggard King himself, increased acceleration and deceleration, plus 10 hit reaction to ignore chance. Yeah, so it's going to be harder to knock him over, plus a decrease in cost. It's like, what's that meme? I think it was like from Mean Girls, like stop trying to make something happen. It's like, stop trying to make Grimgor happen. It's not going to happen. I don't know. Maybe it will. I mean, that certainly helps. Night Goblin Warboss, Skarsnik, Azag have all had reductions for their foot variants. Hammer of Gork, yeah, just like weird melee attack and melee defense buffs across the board for like every faction. The Giant does cost 100 less, but aside from that, like nothing really like substantial here. I mean, it seems like every faction's getting this across the board, so it's probably going to be relatively normal there. Alariel, Footlords here for the High Elves getting those reductions. The Handmaiden and Tyrion getting minus 100 cost. No, Tyrion, that's only his foot variant, when he's so much better on horseback too, so I don't think it's going to matter. I think he'll still take him on horse. Dragon Princes, wow. That's a big nerf. So Dragon Princes have lost 100 mass, so they're not going to be able to punch through as much. Their damage and impact will still be very good, but they're not going to be something that can just like punch through a group of infantry as easily. I don't know if that, I really don't think that was necessary. I think that was kind of their thing, right? They're these big, heavy, like kind of cav units with, you know, lances, but yeah, to me, teach their own. So Fireborn, same thing. Melee attack, melee defense. It seems like kind of the theme of the day here. And the gray and these like weird regiments around are still just going to suck despite the cost increase. Like they're still just not going to be good due to the nature of their kit. So Krokar, leadership, Krokar, you know, foot reductions. Even Mazda Mundi on his toilet seat costs a little bit more now. Still going with that narrative here. Lord Kroak, wow. 300 cost. So Kroak is going to be... Kroak was already a niche pick against like vampiric factions that were or blob factions, but I don't think Kroak is going to be picked that much anymore with 300 plus cost. That is a big difference. That's like an extra unit of skinks or like, you know, good abilities. Like that's a big difference here. So Salamander Hunting Packs slightly increased turn speed, lowers armor, now uses splash attacks against small targets. Oh, that's pretty good. So Hunting Packs are probably going to be the preferred variant against like lightly armored factions, whereas the obviously the Razor Dawns are going to be better versus like chaos-like factions. So yeah, same thing with Umbral Tide. Ancient Salamander gets a little bit of a change here with AP projectile damage and base damage. So Kroxigors reduce the charge distance from 45 to 30 meters. Okay, so they're not going to get that acceleration until they're a little bit closer, but they get a buff to melee attack or melee damage, AP, and base damage. So just a buff across the board on regular Kroxigors. Again, further solidifying them as an anti-infantry option, whereas the Sacred Kroxigors are more of a general unit, like an all-rounder. Stegodon's 10 armor, Ancient Stegodon's -10. Reload time for the blowpipes on the Ancient Stegodons has changed. Thunderous One, a very powerful duelist, has had some nerfs, but still probably will be quite good in the niche matchups in which it's already pertinent. Feral Bastillodon, yeah, now uses large single entities, because before I think it was in a different like kind of category there. Minor melee attack and melee defense buffs and tweaks to these different units and nerfs. Star Chamber Guardians, +1 melee attack, yeah, missile block chance, cool. Northscale Wolfric, Marauder Chieftain have had their tweaks based on their mount options. War Mammoth, ooh, that's a big nerf, actually. War Mammoth has lost 700 HP almost, and has penalties for being in the forest as a large entity, whereas I guess it didn't before. So Mammoths get nerfed a little bit. With the Warshrine, Mammoth does get a buff because nobody uses it. And probably people still won't use it because Norscan Death Stars are like okay, but I don't think it's that good. Norsca is like a fast mobile faction that I think wants to envelop people, not have a Death Star. I mean, it can work though. Familiar Warriors have had some nerfs, it looks like. Charge bonus, melee attack, +10 leadership, so they're going to be more sustainable, but ultimately I would call it a nerf. Losing melee attack plus 100 cost is actually significant. So, in great weapons, losing a charge bonus, losing melee attack, losing melee defense. Leadership, again, will put them up into the 70s, I think, which is good, but yeah, still nerfs. They'll still be good at what they do, and it's not going to like ruin Norsca, but it is going to change their playstyle. Shaman Sorcerer can now use, yeah, it's just talking about the different like entity size and whatnot. Oh my god, this is like a deep one. So Skaven, same thing across the board. You can see that so there were some things like Doom Flayers that I think had some issues with their like entity size. So it seems like they're going to be tweaking those. Warlock Engineer, Plague Priest, all those guys have had some tweaks. Plague Priest costs a little bit less, which is cool. We're probably not on his Furnace, which is where you usually see him. But I guess a lot of Skaven players, if you're going to be going with like Ikit, do bring him on foot just for summons. So that helps. Yeah, Helped Abomination uses large entity ground stat effect. That's interesting. So maybe it wasn't like correct before. Tweaks here, Storm Vermin have had a little bit of a change. And Adibubo Sharpshooters, this is probably something that's going to be big. So yeah, they're very squishy now. So when you do catch them, it'll die even quicker. They've lost 25 range, but plus 50 cost, 20% increase in projectile calibration area, and increased projectile expert. Yeah, so it's a nerf basically. Yeah, they're squishier, less range. They'll still be really good though. Don't worry, guys. It's not like going to be backbreaking or anything. The Dwarf Thing Menace has had a little bit of a tweak, as have the Wheels of Doom. So all the Tomb King's variants are cheaper on foot by quite a bit, 100 actually. Netikar Horsemen have lost 100 mass, charge bonus and melee defense, so Netikar Horsemen are pretty good. Losing 100 mass is, it's going to make it harder for them to get away or punch through things, but they're more of a skirmish cav type unit or kind of mid-range cav, so having them punch of like a heavy cav unit doesn't really make sense for them anyways. They're literally skeletons. Necropolis Knights and company have done their thing. Necropolis Knights with halberds. Necrosphinx has a penalty for being in the forest, whereas I guess it didn't before. Interesting. I have some water here real quick, guys. To get through this deep breakdown here. Necrosphinx, Tomb Scorpion now is the penalty. Blessed Legion gets some reload skill and melee defense. They weren't, that often used, so pretty big buff here to the Blessed Legion. That's pretty nice. Reload skill is big. I mean, that's like something you use from abilities. Melee defense buff, debuff doesn't matter. They're going to die anyways when they get caught, but that's good. Maybe you're going to see more Blessed Legion. King Nikesha Scorpion Legion, tweaks here, +1 bonus for large, becoming a little bit less tanky. Sepulchral Stalkers get some ammo. Casket of Souls gets, 2 extra projectiles per volley. That's actually something. I'll have to go ahead and test that out for the Casket of Souls. All right, so for Vampire Coast, Footlord's getting a buff, of course, across the board. Bloated Corpse has lost. Oh, that's game changing. And Depth Guard are actually going to be better now. They've gotten +4 health per entity. That's actually nice. So how many? What are they? 45 models. So they're going to have an extra couple hundred HP, which I suppose in the battle. Wait, hang on a sec. 45. That's not bad. That's actually nice. Depth Guard are very squishy, so I think that's a nice change. Like they were kind of falling out of favor. I used to love using them back in the day, but they just kind of are a little bit lackluster. Bloody Reaver Death Guard have gotten buffed. Still probably won't be that great, but nice to see that just for campaign and other purposes. Rotting Leviathan got a little bit of a buff. Deckhand mobs, got nerfed actually. Ooh, that's big. For 120 models, they're going to be losing like 1,000 HP or close to that. Well, not quite 1,000, but you guys get the picture. I don't feel like doing math right now, but that's a big nerf to the Deckhand mobs. Vampire Coast getting slathered with nerfs. I mean, that's pretty big. Yeah, they've been getting beaten up the past couple months. I mean, there are a couple minor buffs in here, but I would say Vampire Ghost ultimately from this patch got a nerf. Vampire counts, Footlords all getting their cost reductions. You can see the massive board of that here. Banshees. Ooh, Banshees and White Kings getting a cost reduction. That's good. Maybe you'll be seeing more White Kings on foot, like these foot-centric armies. With Banshees getting a -100 on there, that's pretty good. I like that. Vampire counts, I felt like they're still really good, but I feel like they have some really bad matchups. So it'll be interesting to see if like the Footlord/foot character kind of a meta, evolves. And then again, just melee attack buffs and melee defense nerfs on everything. It's like almost nothing is getting a buff to their melee defense. Warriors of Chaos, Archeon decreases. Dragon Ogres, that's pretty good. 15 armor is significant. Like in matchups against like Bretonnia, putting them up to a pretty good armor value is going to be really nice. So nice buffs for Chaos here. I like that. Summoners of Rage got a bit of a buff. Armor and melee attack. A little bit of a cost increase, but I would say that's pretty nice considering they get 15 armor and extra melee attack. Swords of Chaos got a big buff, and that's probably why we saw them. Oh, but it's plus 100 cost. I could have sworn they had a reduction. Melee attack, melee defense, AP. -15 bonus versus infantry, +5. So making them more of like a well-rounded unit. So yeah, they're going to be better versus like bigger things now. But 100 cost increase, I think they could have given those buffs and just kept the cost as is. Chaos Knights get an AP melee damage buff. And ooh, Chaos Knights getting a nice little buff there. That's good. That's actually important. Soul of Damnation getting a melee defense nerf. Chaos Giant, Chaos Spawn. I think Chaos is going to have a couple new things. Like Chaos Knights getting an AP buff, even though it looks small. In a battle versus like Demogryph Knights, that could make the difference of them winning if they get the charge. Plus the armor on Dragon Ogres, some nice buffs for Chaos here. And Chaos Spawn and Giants obviously could become pertinent. Granted, I think Chaos Spawn probably still be Haggard. Orion gets Vanguard and 50 cost, which I'll happily pay 50 gold for Vanguard. It's really fun. Durathu gets some armor. So the tree has grown some extra bark, which I think is fine. Glade Lord getting a minus cost on foot, but you're never going to see that. Probably not. Wild Dungeons of Avernus remove Guardian. Oh, they lost Guardian. Interesting. Added magical damage. I'd probably remove Guardian for the bonus versus large, because having a bonus versus large cap unit is just such a tool. So I don't mind paying that troll toll for that. That's fine. Waywatchers have lost run speed, which is good. Any nerfs to Waywatchers is good. I think they're kind of a unfun unit, and I think I think they deserve the nerfs. So they're getting a nerf to their healing, their melee defense. So they're still going to just kill things super quick, but now they're slower and they die quicker, which I think is fine. Hawkeyes of Jakira, same kind of a stat line there. And yeah, Firebark Elders, Treeman, Orion gets Vanguard. Hawk Riders made the entity 12% wider, improving firing animations to make the volleys faster. Okay. Wildwood Rangers, base damage, they get run speed, they get a charge speed, and they're cheaper. Oh. Increased unit spacing, so they're not going to be as bunched. So against like missile attacks and mortars and things like that, they'll be a little bit more durable. Okay, so War Dancers, Log Strictures, you guys can see all that stuff, just same old kind of stuff. Now, the Deliverance, oh my god, look at this. Oh my god. Oh, there's so much. Summon and Bindings now split into 3 phases with 3 different colors. Okay, so, that's kind of nice. So it's going to be a little bit more indicative of what's going to happen soon. The Deliverance of Pizza has been nerfed. So that plus Croak costing 300 more, you're not going to see Croak. He's not going to be around. In multiplayer, at least. Vortex damage for Fiery Convocation. 100% AP Vortex damage. Ooh, that's pretty good. Fiery Convocation could wreck shop. It's still a really slow cast, and most good players will dodge it, but that's pretty nice. Pestilent Breath, -% 14 base Vortex damage. Yeah, Wind Blast is getting nerfed as well. And so those like Pestilent Breath and Wind Blast are both very good. I mean, 14% isn't... People can still use it. It'll still be good. Now, this is a pretty big one. Exorcism from Lore of Light passive changed to a map-wide AoE augment that affects all allies, giving immune to psychology and leadership, which I think is cool. Exorcism was basically useless. So I think every passive should be pertinent in every matchup. So I think that's nice. Bestial Surge got a little bit of a nerf. Obviously, there was a bit of an uptick in people using that to just spam Vigor, and like their armies would be pretty much perfect the entire time. Soulfire, yeah. Projectile damage from 26 to 1, 200%. Okay, so then it explodes. So this is a big one. Grand Soulfire, projectile damage from 26 to 1, so that is a buff. Explosion damage no longer affects allies. Removed magic resistance. It reduced the area from, but it still does a ton of damage. Like Soulfire is really good, and I think it is going to be something that we do see in the metagame quite a bit, especially with like Cav Hammers, because it actually does pretty good damage against like elite stuff too, but it like really wrecks light armor if they blob on you. Divine Power now has a map-wide radius, reduced miscast chance. Okay, Fireball, this is good too. I think Fireball was a bit oppressive and annoying. It's literally like a heat-seeking missile that if you're playing an undead character, like just chunks you down to like 60% one shot. Like they'll kill your lords. You just have to hide them. It really harkens back to like Warhammer 1 Spirit Leech spam. So I think this is a really good change. Fireball needed to be nerfed, and I'm glad it did. Cool. Plus 300% AP, but minus 70%. So 70% nerf overall, but slightly more effective than armor, which against armor. Lieber has had a change, 0.1 damage chance. I'm not sure what these changes indicate here. -1, yeah. Perhaps somebody in the comments can kind of explain that. Maybe it's saying that like it's like the resistance of the character is going to be like better against Lieber Bonicus. Like there's a 10% chance that it's not going to go through or something like every tick. Interesting, I'm not sure. Soul Stealer, yeah, changes across the board. Web of Shadows, I've had some minor tweaks. I'm really looking for good stuff. The Mortis Engine effect on Warpstone armor has changed from 0.5 seconds to 1. So lower, again, Creative Assembly really has been nerfing Mortis Engine type effects and like those type of things. So this is a big change as well. Rune of Wrath and Ruin change. 48% speed change to 72% and 72% charge speed. So it's not going to do damage anymore, but it does have a massive slow, which that in tandem with the anti-large gyrocopters, I'm really looking forward to actually trying that out. Doombolt has gotten a little bit of a shockwave radius, which is good because it pretty much always misses. The dreaded 13th spell now gets more explosion and does more damage. It actually can do a lot of damage, but it's so expensive that's why you don't really see it. Gyrocopter bombs have gotten a buff. Comet of Cassandra got a buff. Uran and Thunderbolt, so pretty much all the Walmart tier like kind of bombardment spells got a buff. Giver of Glory removed Unbreakable, added, ooh, man, that making the Warshine a little bit tasty. Added 26 melee attack, 16 leadership. Now, is it for nearby units? Increased target range. Yeah, wow. The Warshine Mammoth could actually be good. So earlier when we were talking about it, we were kind of, laughing at it a little bit. But if that actually buffs allies, 26 melee attack and leadership, that could be pretty good. All right. Spiral Hatchlings got a duration nerf, Spiteful Shot, just minor tweaks to all these different spells. I'm trying to look for things that really stand out here. Plus 7 seconds on Fist of Gork. That's pretty good. Banishment, power costs. Yeah, you can see all these minor tweaks of like 1 or 2 power. Things that are really going to affect the metagame. None of these spells are that great anyways. Warp Lightning got a cost increase. That's kind of unwarranted. Vermintide, that's pretty big actually. Vermintide getting a 1 is pretty significant. Pearl of Infinite Blackness, Hand of Glory, Storm Shapers. Dark Mail from 24 armor to 30 and 22% Magicka. So Kazarek, stop trying to make Kazarek happen. It's not going to happen. He sucks. Morker's just so much better. Totem of Rust. Strength of Land. So these are all just like minor like tweaks and stuff. Ruinous Flesh. Oh, it's not bad on the Skin Wolves. So Skin Wolves are going to be getting a little bit of extra armor, which is cool. Tretch's Raiders is now always active and targets other units that are winning in combat. Oh, it's all right. So Tretch gets a little bit of a buff too. His buff is now going to be perpetual. Potion of Croy, max 4 uses. I mean, you're going to be at your healing cap anyways. Relatively insignificant. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it for the multiplayer stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this breakdown. I know we skipped over some stuff, but a lot of the stuff we skipped over was just like little minuses here and there and things like that. Hopefully we catch most of the big changes. So guys, thank you for joining for this patch note breakdown. And after this, we're going to be talking about Gotrek and Felix. It originally was going to be in its own video, but I think I'm going to tack it on after this. So guys, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you in Lustria. What's it called? The expedition continues. Take care, guys. All right, guys, the old friends are here. Gotrek and Felix have arrived. So let's go ahead and take a look at this article here on the Total War blog. And man, I'm really excited. So I actually first got into Warhammer Fantasy, like for the first time in my life, when I started playing Total War Warhammer. So before that, I really didn't have too much knowledge. I had been into Games Workshops before. Of course, I used to play Magic the Gathering. So I had a little bit of a kind of a nerd influence there and was able to kind of, get some of it from the stores I was in and things like that. But I didn't really kind of develop that, man. And I can only imagine for people who've been fans of Warhammer Fantasy forever, like getting to read those books back in the day, man, I wish I had. But so Gotrek and Felix are two of the most iconic characters in Warhammer Fantasy. And the book series, for anyone who hasn't read them, it's amazing. It's a simple read, honestly. It's not like the most in-depth literature you're ever going to find, but the stories are fun. They're simple. They have some of your favorite characters. I'm actually reading Demon Slayer right now. So I read Troll Slayer and Skaven Slayer, and you get to meet Belegar. You get to, see how the Imperial cities are. they're just amazing books for anyone who's interested in Warhammer Fantasy. I feel like that's where you start. A lot of people ask that, like, where do I start when I want to get into Warhammer Fantasy literature, learn about the lore? Well, Gotrek and Felix is perfect. You get to learn about Dwarven culture, Imperial culture, but also they're going to be dealing with, elves and Skaven and Thankful and all these different. They go to Carrick 8 Peaks in the first book and meet King Belegar. There is so much stuff. So again, I would highly recommend the books for anyone who's getting into Warhammer Fantasy. But on that note, let us go ahead and take a look at this kind of blog and breakdown here. So legendary adventurers are abroad in Total War Warhammer 2. Gotrek Gurnison is one of the legendary dwarf slayers. And the dwarf slayers, those brooding, taciturn yet deadly warriors whose very rare reason, I don't even know that word, reason to share, is to bring death, destruction, and all-around doom to any enemies of the dwarf race. My apologies, my brain's a little bit scrambled because I just finished a 3-hour-long stream, and we're getting there. So yeah, Gotrek is like the iconic dwarf. He, looking to, oh man, look at the art. Oh, it's so cool. Got some power boots. Man, I'm so excited for this. So even for a Slayer, Gotrek is particularly a grim example, for his shame is especially great. He refuses to speak of his humiliation that led him to follow such a path, except to say that his only desire is to die in mortal combat against a worthy foe. And well, there's plenty in Total War Warhammer 2, that's for sure. So and pull them with him into death's cold embrace. Yeah, he's rather good at his work, so he never dies. That's kind of the thing, is Gotrek's always like seeking a greater foe. Like in the first book, I don't want to give any spoilers, but basically the title of each book kind of lets you know what he's going to be fighting. So he's always looking to fight these things, including eventually greater demons. And he's just like, he's just so good, such a badass that he never is defeated, really. So, and obviously that's not really a spoiler. If you guys like see how many books there are, and you'll get to tell yourselves. Overview: Gotrek and Felix are legendary adventurers and mercenaries known throughout the Warhammer world by those that sing their praises and curse their names. Veterans of countless minor scrapes and grand battles, both are formidable warriors in their own right and would make a welcome addition to any army if a commander is able to keep their attention for long enough. If you have the Gotrek and Felix DLC, you'll spot a new interactive marker on the campaign map. Click it, recruit them, and let the adventures begin. Oh my god, that is so exciting. Gotrek and Felix are wandering adventurers and mercenaries. They can be very powerful allies, but can't exactly be relied upon to stick around forever. Okay, yeah, because, Gotrek is always kind of wanting to do his own thing anyways, and Felix basically is just forced to follow him because of the oath he made. So after all, Gotrek has a death wish to fulfill, so you can't always be there, be sure when their quest will take them. So let's see. They will function a little bit different. Other characters, Gotrek and Felix, are initially recruited from their quest marker as a pair. Gotrek effectively functions as a lord, and Felix is a hero that accompanies him. That kind of makes sense. And I wonder how that would pertain to multiplayer. That'd be really interesting. Like, it'd be kind of cool. Like, if you could use them for like dwarves, empire, Bretonnia, like the races of good, because obviously they would never really ally with the fell races. I mean, maybe in extreme situations, but you can send them off around the world on adventures of their own, or supply them with troops and have them function in the same way as you would your other armies. Although with a rather powerful pair of characters leading it. They might be swords for hire, but they have a certain moral code and will only enter the employ of the empire, Bretonnia, and dwarves. That makes sense. If you so much look as a rat from the distance, don't ask. That Thankful, the Grey Seer, is kind of like their iconic foe, so obviously they have a special hatred in their hearts for Skaven, which is fun. So only stay for your factions for around 20 turns, so Gotrek gets itchy feet, etc., etc. So fear not though, because their wanderings will inevitably lead them back to you at some point, and you'll find they have likely increased their prowess. So they put all their points in the terrible skills there. And now, as far as the characters go, like Gotrek is just this like alpha slayer, right? But Felix initially is like not much of a warrior. He's more of an academic type. But through his escapades of just being dragged around by Gotrek, he actually over time becomes a pretty competent warrior. So he's obviously very intelligent as well. So it's a great story. So how to get them? The Gotrek and Felix DLC is exclusively available in September's print issue of the White Dwarf magazine. You'll just need to follow the instructions on a special card and you'll get a copy. So I'd imagine you go into your local Games Workshop and just do that. So I'll be visiting soon. But it's September edition, it says. White Dwarf is available from all branches of Warhammer and Games Workshop stores, from independent stockists and through Games Workshop's online web store. It is also available through all good newsagents and bookshops that stock it. So yeah. I'll be going to Games Workshop probably in the next couple days, or at least I'll call and see if they have this and have the White Dwarf there ready to go. At that period of exclusivity, Gotrek and Felix will be available for anyone. Okay, that's good. I really like that. So it's obviously going to be exclusive for a couple weeks, but in October it'll be available to everyone. It's because a lot of people in certain countries don't have Games Workshop stores, right? So that's going to be good, and they would have to order it, and it'd be a lot of very, very difficult to get that. If you have a free Total War account, they will appear from that date in your inventory alongside your other free items. Okay, cool. So Gotrek and Felix FAQ, what's the deal? Limited period, September 19th. We talked about the White Dwarf. What game are they from? Or what game are they for? Total War Warhammer 2. As most of you guys probably know if you're here, I don't have Total War Warhammer 2 yet. If you create a free Total War Access account, you should also see 50% off Total War Warhammer 2. Okay, so they're going to be having a sale in tandem with that. If you're a subscriber to the White Dwarf, you should receive your copy a few days before the 20th of September. So for anyone looking to just go into the store and buy it, you can probably do that on the 20th. I think it's like $8 or $9. If you buy the White Dwarf, you'll be able to access them as soon as it hits the shelves. Okay. So we don't really need to talk about this. Total War Access. Obviously, is there a kind of a browser launcher client thing? I really just want to see if it has anything pertaining to multiplayer. Probably not. But I have a feeling they're going to be available in multiplayer for those factions, like for Empire Dwarves and things like that. Man, imagine having an Empire army led by Gotrek. If he indeed is a lord in multiplayer, not a hero. Okay, so White Dwarf stuff. When will the White Dwarf be in stores? September 14th. You can pre-order it. Okay. The characters will become available to everyone on October 17th. Redeem the characters, and you can just basically see here. There'll be a link to the Total War blog for you guys who really want to kind of look at all the nitty-gritty here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Due to the nature of how the characters work in game, they'll not be available in multiplayer campaigns. However, the caveat we were looking for, they'll be available in custom battles and non-campaign multiplayer. Oh, yes. Give me that sweet Gotrek and Felix beatdown. Oh, man, I can't wait to use them in multiplayer. And as a matter of fact, I think that's going to conclude this video, and I'm going to go start reading some more Demon Slayer. So thank you guys for joining. I'll also put a link maybe in the comment section for anyone who wants to get into the literature. Like, I'll put a link to the new stuff. So, man, this is awesome. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Take care.